Welcome to this podcast in the Inclusive Diving series. In this podcast, we will talk about the Scuba Trust, a UK charity dedicated to making scuba diving accessible for individuals with disabilities. It highlights how a range of disabilities do not hinder the mastery of essential diving skills like buoyancy control, enabling participants to experience weightlessness and freedom from their mobility aids. So let's get started.
Imagine a world where your physical limitations just melt away.
Replaced by weightlessness, yeah. And this unparalleled freedom.
Mm-hmm.
A space where every movement feels unburdened, and the everyday struggles of gravity simply vanish.
It sounds amazing.
It does. Today, we're plunging into a really inspiring deep dive. The incredible work of the Scuba Trust.
Right.
This is an organization dedicated to making the underwater world accessible to people with disabilities, and honestly, the stories we found are just, they're transformative.
They really are.
So, for this deep dive, we've pulled insights from an insightful webinar transcript by the British Sub-Aqua Club, BSAC. That's also a compelling article from DiverNet about a pretty unique underwater donation.
Ah, yes, I remember that one.
And of course, information straight from the Scuba Trust's own website.
Good sources. Our mission today is really to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge from all this, revealing how the Scuba Trust transforms lives, the ingenious solutions they find to some unique challenges, and those profound aha moments, their diverse experience.
Yeah, those moments are key.
Okay, so let's unpack this, starting right at the beginning. The Scuba Trust, their mission, how they even started.
Well, it's pretty remarkable, actually. The Scuba Trust has been going for 25 years now. They just celebrated that milestone.
25 years, wow.
Yeah, and in that time, they've trained hundreds, literally hundreds of people. What's fascinating, I think, is how their current chairman, Eric Bellworthy, first got involved.
Oh, yeah. How is that?
He was inspired by this larger-than-life paraplegic speaker at the Royal Geographical Lectures in London.
Right.
Someone with paralysis affecting their lower body. And Eric he went up to their stand afterwards and asked if he could help. Simple as that.
Just offered to help. That's brilliant.
Yeah. And eventually he became chairman. He even shared this lighthearted anecdote from his very first dive with a member, a guy named Steve, back in '99.
Go on.
Apparently, his logbook noted Steve was absolutely determined to bag a very small lobster, which I'm glad to say was eventually put back.
Ah, that's fantastic. What an inspiring sort of organic way for the trust to begin, eh? Just a simple offer.
Exactly.
So given that start, who exactly does the Scuba Trust welcome? Who do they help get into diving?
They're incredibly inclusive. Their line is pretty much virtually anybody that we can accommodate safely.
That's Brad.
It really is. Their members include wheelchair users, paraplegics, quadriplegics, so paralysis affecting all four limbs, amputees too, deaf people, people with autism, spina bifida, Parkinson's. I mean, the list goes on.
So a huge range of conditions.
Definitely. And a lot of members have back injuries, often from quite common accidents, motorbike, car, push bike accidents, even rugby injury.
Right, those kinds of impact.
Yeah. It's probably worth mentioning, too, that military personnel, often with combat injuries, they're frequently supported by another really excellent organization called Depth Therapy.
Okay, good to know. So an incredibly broad reach then.
Yeah.
Once people connect with the Scuba Trust, how do they actually get them into the water? How does the training start? What's their setup like?
Well, they meet once a month. They have this private, warm pool in Ascot.
Ah, private. That must help.
Huge difference. And Ascot's fairly central, which is good because members come from all over England, Devon, Norfolk, the Midlands, London.
Makes sense.
And having sole use of a private, warm pool, it's massive for building confidence and comfort. Just imagine the difference compared to a public pool.
Oh, absolutely. Less self-conscious.
Yeah.
More privacy for specific needs.
Exactly that.
So what's the journey like for these divers once they start? What's the progression?
It usually kicks off with introductory tri-dives just to get a feel for being underwater, breathing underwater.
The basics.
Yeah. Then it moves into more structured skill development. And importantly, members pay for their training and their holidays. But what's quite unique, I think,
What's that?
is that the instructors pay the exact same amount as the members for the holidays.
Really? So everyone contributes equally?
Pretty much, yeah. It means everyone's contribution goes directly back into the trust. Helps keep things running.
That's a great model. And the holidays, you mentioned holidays.
Oh, yeah. They organize 2 or 3 trips a year, usually a group of about 20 people, and they often charter an entire Red Sea live-aboard boat.
A whole boat just for them.
Yeah, it gives them complete control over accessibility, the schedule, everything. They tend to favor places they know well, like Sharm el-Sheikh, especially Camel Dive Club.
Because the staff know them.
Exactly. The staff know them, know their requirements. It avoids problems. But they've also traveled further afield, Grenada, Mexico, Indonesia, the Maldives. But returning to familiar, accommodating places really helps avoid those issues where, maybe promises of accessibility don't quite match the reality on the ground.
Yeah, I can see that. Chartering a whole boat really speaks volumes about the tailored support they provide.
It does.
Which brings us to the core question, really. Beyond the logistics, which are clearly impressive, what is it about diving? Why do these individuals, despite all the challenges, seek out the underwater world? I mean, we all have our reasons, right?
We do.
But what's the unique appeal for the Scuba Trust divers?
That's a great question because, well, at its heart, they choose it for many of the same reasons as any diver.
Right.
The sheer enjoyment, meeting different kinds of people, that fantastic camaraderie you get with the buddy system, helping each other out.
Sure, the social side.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But for the Scuba Trust divers, there's this powerful extra layer, a huge psychological benefit.
Oh, so
Imagine the confidence boost you get from being surrounded by others who are, well, in a similar boat, metaphorically speaking, people who've already done it, who understand your lived experience.
yeah, that shared understanding must be huge.
It really is. It has such a significant positive impact on well-being, on mental health. It offers this exciting, profound escape from maybe feeling stuck in a wheelchair. It gives them a completely different sense of self.
That makes so much sense. It highlights that powerful psychological side beyond just the physical freedom. And speaking of physical freedom, let's talk about the tangible benefits. Gravity, pain relief.
Yeah.
That must be massive.
Oh, absolutely. This is where scuba is just uniquely transformative. I mean, lots of activities offer some sense of freedom.
Yeah.
But what's truly unique in scuba is the complete three-dimensional suspension. You're not just lighter, you achieve genuine weightlessness and freedom of movement.
Forgetting the world above water.
Exactly. It lets you forget the world above water. And for many, this offers incredible pain relief.
Pain relief, how does that work?
Well, some divers experience constant, really debilitating pain from pressure points when they're in their chair. But underwater, suspended, not touching anything solid, many report it's one of the only times they are pain-free.
Wow. That alone must be worth everything.
It's an almost unparalleled kind of physical liberation, a complete break from their daily reality.
I was really struck by something in the sources about equipment. It mentioned that unlike a lot of adaptive sports, scuba seems surprisingly accessible without needing loads of expensive modifications.
That's spot on, yeah. Compare it to, say, adaptive tennis or rugby. They demand these incredibly costly, specialized wheelchairs, often $6,000 or more.
It's 1,000 pounds.
Yeah. Scuba generally just doesn't have that barrier. I remember reading about an instructor's early experience with a military guy who quite plainly just said he wasn't going to be using fins.
Huh. Okay, so what adaptations do they use?
They're remarkably few and quite clever, actually. Wetsuits are often adapted, maybe zipped completely from top to bottom or in 2 pieces just to avoid injury risk during dressing.
Makes sense.
And sometimes divers with good arm movement might use webbed gloves instead of fins to help with propulsion.
Webbed gloves. Simple but effective.
Pretty much.
It's amazing how adaptable diving gear can be. But while getting into the water might be relatively straightforward, equipment-wise, I gather the journey to the water, especially international travel, that's a whole different story.
No, absolutely. Transport is, one of their biggest pains. That's putting it mildly sometimes.
Airports, I imagine.
Airports are tough. The loading process, it's arduous. You've got multiple wheelchairs, sometimes 6, 7, 8 of them. The group is always loaded first, which takes time, using those narrow little aisle chairs to get people onto the plane.
It sounds stressful.
It is. And then you get ongoing problems like people pushing in queues or just totally illogical seating arrangements.
Like what?
Like being seated near the toilet when they physically can't get up to use it or stuck in aisles where they block everyone else. It's frustrating.
And leaving their own chairs behind.
That's hugely stressful. Leaving their specially made wheelchairs, their cushions, checking them in as luggage. Then the anxious wait at the other end, just hoping they haven't been damaged or lost.
Oh gosh, I hadn't even thought of damage.
Yeah, and they face similar problems with buses, taxis, hotels. You book an adapted room, you get there, it's been given away, or the adaptation is like steps into the shower, making it totally unusable.
That's incredibly frustrating. It sounds like they need a lot of resilience.
They do. And what's fascinating is how they often meet these challenges, not just with ingenuity, but with this brilliant sense of humor.
Humor, how so?
Well, in some countries, there's maybe a cultural tendency to sort of hide away disabilities. So the sight of a large group, maybe 20 people, all with wheelchairs, often being quite loud, wearing matching T-shirts, it draws attention. Crowds gather sometimes.
Right, people scaring.
Yeah. And the divers, with this amazing resilience, they sometimes meet it head-on with humor. They've been known to, playfully shout, "Make way for the cripple," at a crowded bar in Gatwick. Yeah. Or if crowds are gathering taking pictures, someone might joke, "Okay, I'll just charge $10 for a photograph," just to disperse them.
Huh. That takes guts. A brilliant way to handle it, though.
It really is. Shows their spirit.
Absolutely. It paints such a vivid picture. So beyond the travel headaches, what about the diving itself? Are there unique needs or adaptations during the dive?
Definitely. Warmth is a big one.
Warmth.
Yeah, for divers with spinal injuries, regulating body temperature can be really difficult. So UK diving with the colder water is quite limited for many of them. They mostly need warmer waters.
Okay, that makes sense. What else? Getting in and out.
Entry and exit are major challenges, yeah. Pool entries are easy enough, but beach entries? Very difficult.
I can imagine.
There was this great story from the Bahamas where the hotel maintenance guys actually welded huge tires onto a chair to create a sort of makeshift beach wheelchair for one of the divers.
Wow. That's ingenuity.
Totally. And then there's the famous Maldives story.
Oh, I think I read about this one. The boat.
That's the one. A dive operator said getting the divers onto their traditional boat, a dhoni, was impossible because the steps were too high.
Right.
But the boat crew, amazing guys, and the hotel maintenance team, they worked overnight. They built this wooden slide with a restaurant chair attached and ropes.
No way. A slide.
Yeah. To basically winch people up and slide them down. They proved it wasn't impossible at all. Just needed some creative thinking and effort.
That's incredible problem solving. Shows real dedication from the local teams, too.
It really does.
What about specific physical things during the dive? Equalizing, buoyancy.
Good points. Equalization can be tricky for those who can't use their hands, so a buddy might need to gently hold their nose for them while they equalize.
Right, that takes trust.
Huge trust. Weighting is also complex, especially for amputees or those without much leg strength. Some use what they call a pendulum weight belt. It hangs below them, helps with stability.
A pendulum weight belt. Interesting.
Yeah. And the truss is very flexible. They'll accommodate divers in an upright position if that's more comfortable, even if it looks a bit different underwater.
Whatever works best for the individual.
Exactly. And getting people on and off boats often involves, purely manhandling. Just strong boat crews using teamwork and sheer strength.
Right. Physically demanding for the support team.
Definitely. And currents can be an issue, too. Sometimes divers might need a little pull from a buddy to help them along. Gentle drift dives are often ideal for those who can't, let the current do the work.
Makes sense. Adapt the dive to the diver.
Precisely.
So all this effort, all this ingenuity, what does this actually mean for the individuals? It means there are some truly remarkable people at the heart of this, doesn't it? Whose lives have been profoundly changed.
Oh, absolutely. The stories are incredible.
Let's talk about some of them, these faces of freedom.
Okay. Well, there's a member who's paraplegic. He was injured when he was just 19, swerved his car to miss a badger.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But now he's a renowned mouth painter. Sells his work internationally.
A mouth painter. That's incredible.
Isn't it? Then there's another chap, a resilient biker, had 2 serious motorbike accidents.
2?
Yeah. One tore tendons in his arm. The other damaged his leg and actually caused a slight brain injury. Apparently after the first one, he bungee roped his injured arm to the bike handlebar so he could keep riding.
Wow. Determination.
You could say that. And despite all that, he's described as an excellent diver who really looks after other people in the group.
Amazing. And there was a really touching story about a couple.
Yes, the blind and spina bifida couple. That's a wonderful one. The wife has spina bifida, where the spine doesn't fully develop.
Right.
And her husband is registered blind. He's albino. They learn to dive together with the Trust.
Together. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and they've done hundreds and hundreds of dives since. Now they travel and dive independently. It's truly incredible.
Independent travel, wow.
And the husband, the blind diver, he's really tech savvy. He uses a camera underwater, takes photos of what the others are seeing.
So he can tank.
So he can blow the images up really big on his computer later. It's how he finally got to see things like tiny nudibranch, those colorful sea slugs or seahorses for the first time.
That's ingenious. Using technology to open up that visual world.
It really is. A testament to how diving just finds a way.
Absolutely. And there's the quadriplegic lady. Her story about pain relief was particularly moving.
Yes. She was hit by a drunk driver, experiences constant debilitating pain. On land, she needs 2 carers.
Gosh.
But underwater, she finds such relaxation, such profound pain relief, that she has literally fallen asleep on a reef at like 12 or 14 meters down.
Falling asleep underwater.
Completely relaxed, pain-free. Her diving, though, it's a real team effort. Requires a team of 5 divers just for her.
5 divers? For one person?
Yeah, for buoyancy control, helping with equalization, keeping her tank stable, plus backup. It's a serious operation, but the benefit for her is immense.
Unbelievable commitment from the team. And the rugby injury enthusiast. He finds a different self underwater.
That's a great way to put it. This guy, largely chairbound, quite slow on land because of a rugby injury. Underwater, totally different person.
How so?
They were diving in Mexico, and there was this racing current. And he just loved it. Loved being able to overtake people, not be the last person for once. He said he did 3 dive sites in one dive, just drifting along.
Huh. It completely flips his everyday experience, doesn't it?
Totally. Then there's another great character, an 80-year-old gentleman with motor neuron disease.
MND, right. Progressive condition.
Yeah, affecting the nerves. He apparently fell off a ladder. He's described as a real character, a lifelong member, known by divers all over the world. And he now travels independently, too.
80 years old, with MND, traveling independently for diving. That's just inspiring, doesn't cover it.
It really doesn't.
I think my favorite story, though, was the young lady who literally forgot she was disabled.
Yes. That's such a powerful one.
Tell us that again.
Well, apparently her first dive was maybe a bit difficult, finding her feet, so to speak. But her second dive, it was so enjoyable, so freeing, that when she got back to the boat, she just automatically started to try and climb the ladder.
Without thinking.
Exactly, before realizing, oh, wait, her disability had just completely vanished from her mind in that moment of pure joy and immersion.
That's maybe the ultimate aha moment, isn't it? The power of that experience.
I think it might be.
And it's important to remember, it's not just for the divers with disabilities themselves. The Scuba Trust supports partners, families too.
Yes, absolutely. They also train able-bodied partners or carers, so couples can learn and dive together.
That must be amazing for relationships.
Hugely. It fosters incredible independence, shared experiences, and eventually it often leads to them taking their own independent dive holidays together. They don't always need to be part of a specific disabled diving group anymore.
Right. It empowers the whole family unit.
Exactly. It breaks down those barriers.
It's so clear this is a truly transformative organization. Which makes you wonder, how is this dream sustained? It's basically a volunteer effort, isn't it?
It is, remarkably so. I mean, imagine, run entirely by volunteers for, well, over 20 years now.
Everyone. Trustees, instructors.
Everyone. The trustees managing the charity, the patrons lending their names and support, every single instructor who guides the dives. And remember, they even pay their own way on the trips.
That's incredible dedication.
It is. They're not just passionate divers. They're handling all the complex logistics, the travel nightmares we talked about, fundraising, admin, keeping the equipment going, booking pools, all unpaid, all year round.
Wow.
That specific 5,500-pound donation you mentioned earlier from the Hospital Saturday Fund back in 2019, the one presented underwater.
Yeah, for the van.
Exactly. That highlights just how vital that external support is. It was to replace an Ayland van that was essential for transporting all the gear. Without that continuous unpaid dedication from the volunteers and crucial donations like that, none of this happens.
It puts it into perspective. It's a massive undertaking fueled by passion and generosity.
Completely.
And what's the lasting impact then? What's the ultimate goal for these individuals and for the trust itself?
Well, I think the Trust's ultimate aim is really about empowerment. It's to help individuals gain the skills and confidence to travel and dive independently.
So breaking down the need to always be part of a specific group.
Exactly. Breaking down that need to always travel as part of a disabled diving group. It allows divers who maybe thought they'd never go abroad again after their injury or diagnosis. It allows them to gain this incredible freedom, this confidence to go off on their own adventures completely autonomously.
That's real independence.
That's the goal.
So we've navigated the truly remarkable world of the Scuba Trust today. We've seen how the simple act of diving can offer profound liberation, real pain relief, and this unique sense of equality and pure joy for people with disabilities. Their journey, it's clearly filled with challenges, travel, logistics, physical hurdles, but also just incredible ingenuity, that disarming humor we talked about.
Yeah, the humor's important.
And these truly inspiring human stories. Stories of resilience and transformation and real personal growth.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? It sort of raises an important question. If a world where gravity's hold diminishes, like underwater, can offer such profound freedom and joy, what other weightless experiences, literal or maybe metaphorical, could we seek out in our own daily lives?
It's a deep thought.
To find similar moments of liberation, maybe, connection. What stands out to you listening to all this from our deep dive today?
Well, that ends another podcast. We hope that you have felt the Scuba Trust's inspiration as we have. Next time we will be talking about some of the medical issues that can develop underwater and how to manage them. We hope that you will join us for this Practical Problem podcast. Until then, safe diving.